board is called to order at 6 p.m. There is a quorum with everyone present. Nobody's absent. Y'all please stand and get the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. I guess we're open for public comment. Is there any?
Nobody signed up.
All right. Well, then it's recognitions and celebrations. Mrs. Brashear will take the lead on recognitions.
All right, so it is the best month of the year, right? It's Board Appreciation Month where we get to say thank you to our wonderful board. Our principals have done a great job of showering y'all with goodies and showing their appreciation. Brittany, so tell us kind of who this is from. Sorry, I caught you off guard and you're way back here. My bad. Brittany loves it. Brittany loves to talk in public.
Just throw me another
Yeah.
curveball for my day. Thank you. So Miss Brown, our art teacher, she made this, but she had the kiddos in all of her art classes write notes on it, and staff members too, just thanking y'all for everything that y'all do. We appreciate y'all's hard work. I know she also had our students make each of you cards, so each of you are going to get some handmade cards from our students from kiddos pre-K all the way through
And
fifth
you're
grade.
gonna have to write back to every kid that wrote you.
Yeah, every single one,
single
and I
one.
counted,
Yeah.
so like I'm gonna know how many y'all
Yeah.
have to write back.
Absolutely,
But,
absolutely.
Yeah, no, so just so y'all are very appreciated by all of our students and staff, so thank y'all so much.
All right, middle school. And I also want y'all to know, Pickles was very insistent that y'all know that was his hand. That is his hand on there. He wanted y'all to know that was his hand. He told me about 3 times at the last 2 basketball games.
Who was that?
Yeah, so,
Pickles.
Coach Brewer's STEM class made the sign there off his kiddos, either put a handprint or a heart on there, just to say thank you. And then we got you some nothing bundt cakes.
Thank you.
So we just want to say thank you just for everything y'all do.
Thank you.
And our PTO has given y'all some wonderful blankets. I was gonna crank the air down to about 60, just so y'all could use them tonight if you wanted to. And then we've got some other goodies over there. Drew, you wanna kind of talk about those?
So first of all, I appreciate all of y'all. Y'all have a fun job, a very tough job as well. And appreciate all the service that you provide our school district. Mr. Doobie, they've, in our welding shop, maybe talk a little bit how they designed these signs for them.
All the credit goes to our student teacher, Mr. Dowdy, who's joined us January. He's jumped right on in. He's doing a great job. And we were talking. He said, "I'll design them." And I said, "Go with it, buddy." And he took it and ran with it. So he and some students designed those, and they cut them out. And there's no warranty. It's got the 3 and 3 warranty, 3 miles.
And also Ms. Williams' class, we do have some succulents that she did make in that arrangement. I think they're on the other side over there.
Yeah, they're right back there. And then we got an FFA t-shirt over there. And then admin, we got y'all crumble cookies because we're trying to kind of sweeten you up. We know board meeting might be a little long tonight with the steering committee and all the things, so we're trying to butter you up and sugar you up and keep you awake. But no, we, I will say thank you to the board for taking a chance on a new superintendent and being so supportive every step of the way. I hear how hard other superintendents have with their boards, and it is a blessing that I can call any one of y'all at any time and pick your brains and ask questions. And not only that, but you're willing to trust me enough to give me feedback, because at the end of the day, we are a team of 8, and it is about taking care of our kids and doing what's right. And I don't know if this room realizes the work that y'all have accomplished in 6 short months. This group has hired a new superintendent, hired 3 new principals, helped create the mission and vision of the district of really setting the tone for everything that we're doing, adopted the balanced scorecard and helped launch us that, really supported us through the looking of a new athletic director, supported the steering committee. Everybody in this room has been to 1 or 2 or more steering committee meetings, and that is a lot of work for not a lot of time. I will also say, if you're on the board and you have a child in the district, raise your hand. And that is unusual. And so we are just very, very grateful that you love our kids and you love our district, and just very, very honored to serve with you. So,
Thank you.
that's all. Y'all good? You want to say anything?
I want to say thank you to y'all. It's been an interesting and fun year, and
Kind of happy.
kind of happy.
Is it the picture of you over there? I think it looks just like you.
It's just a genuine, positive outlook for the entire school. So I'm happy.
We are very grateful to y'all. So that is our recognitions and celebrations for tonight. It was you, and we wanted to say thank you and honor your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, then. I guess then we move on to informational items. Start hearing from the representatives of our steering committee. This committee has worked over the past few months to use the TASB facility assessment as well as staff, student, and community feedback to develop a long-range plan. And we are excited to hear what they're recommending for phase 1 of that plan.
All right, come on.
All right, do we have our slides? Somebody else is pulling those up?
Yes, I am pulling those up right now. I should have had it up and ready. I was like, what? All I have to do is look up Coleman, and he's like first on my list because we talk so much. Figure out a way that I can do it. What's the best way to open this, you think? Yeah. Like that? Is that good? Okay.
Can you make it full screen?
Do your
Oh,
three dots.
yeah.
Hit Open in Acrobat, that's next to the drive.
Okay, let me see. Is that? Let's see. I'll open an Acrobat.
So we're to the right.
I think it did the same thing. Where's Glenn? We needing.
Well, do you have, what is it? Just like, there's like docs and sheets and there.
Here we go.
Okay, that'll work.
That'll work. And I will be your clicker.
Okay, well, you don't have to click anywhere.
Well, I know.
There we go. Okay, well, first I want to say thank you so much to the board. We appreciate you. Thank you for allowing us to present tonight. Thank you for all of your hard work for our community. We have an incredible community. We may not always agree on everything, but one thing is for sure, this community loves its kids. And it's one of the things that makes Rogers so special. It's one of the reasons that people move back here is because this community always wants to do what is best for the kids. And, no matter what challenges we face, we come together, we roll up our sleeves, work hard, and we come up with solutions. And that's what this bond package is really about. Over the past several months, we've had a diverse steering committee made up of lifelong Rogers residents, new families, educators, even some students have come together to help develop a long-range plan that will ensure that our school can thrive. Now, this process was open to the entire community. If you're watching the school board feed, the process was open to the entire community. It was posted on social media platforms and on parent communication platforms, and everyone was really just invited to come out and to make your voice be heard and to be a part of developing the future of Rogers ISD. And so throughout this process, one thing has been abundantly clear, and that's transparency and communication really matter. And I just want to take a moment real quick to express how happy I am and how grateful I am to have Dwayna as our superintendent. Her leadership, her heart for this community, her unwavering
commitment to keep everyone informed and engaged has been so instrumental in shaping this plan. And as we look forward to the future of Rogers ISD, I could not be more thrilled to have someone leading us that shares the same heartbeat for our students that this community has. And so now as we begin to look forward towards our next steps, we have to remember that our students deserve the very best, and we have to be proactive to make that happen. Tonight, we're going to share phase 1 of the plan, which focuses on 2 major priorities that the steering committee has pinpointed, and those are safety and equity. And just as we're committed to prioritizing safety and equity, we are equally committed to respecting the hard-earned tax dollar, or the hard-earned money of our community. And that's why every single safety and equity upgrade in Prop A of this bond will be accomplished without increasing the financial tax burden on the community at all. This plan was designed carefully to ensure that we're making the best of our resources while still investing in the future of our students. So we all know that our facilities are aging. Mr. Beard likes to remind me how old the old man is. Unfortunately, some of our facilities have deteriorated to the point where there's safety hazards or they're no longer functional for our students. Meanwhile, at the same time, we have incredibly talented students performing at the regional and state levels in band and theater and ag and athletics, all the while doing so without the resources that they really need to be able to thrive. Additionally, I've learned recently that each year we spend thousands of dollars just maintaining outdated equipment and repairing facilities, and that's money that could way better be utilized to develop long-term improvements. So this bond allows us to stop patching things together and instead invest in real and lasting solutions that better steward our resources and our staff members' time. Safety is and will always be our highest priority. And right now, as all of you in this room know, we have students crossing a very busy highway to go to athletics and the field house. And maybe that wasn't as big of a deal in the 90s when I was doing it and things were a little more calm, but it's pretty dangerous. Cars have almost unrestricted access to High Street, where our middle school and high school students have to pass over to go to and from classes. Inadequate lighting around the practice field and the field house area is a serious issue and a safety concern, especially for cross-country runners and other athletes who come early and stay late for practices and games. We can do better, and this bond will make that happen. Beyond safety, phase 1 also prioritizes equity. Every single major organization in our school, ag, CTE, fine arts, band, athletics, as well as all 3 campuses, will see improvements, ensuring that every student has the tools that they need to succeed. And the best part of all of this is that all of these upgrades are designed to carry over into future growth. So nothing is wasted and every dollar is invested wisely. Now, I know a lot of you have been here a long time, and in 1990, when I was in kindergarten, the very first phrase that I remember learning at the school, and even before that, when I would go watch my sister compete, they would teach us Eagle Pride, we would all be chanting Eagle Pride, and that's one of the things that I love the most about this community is the Eagle Pride is deep within us. It's not just a phrase. It's not just something that looks cool on a shirt. It's really who we are. And quite frankly, the state of many of our facilities just aren't up to par with the level of excellence that we know that we're capable of. And so this bond is about restoring that pride, investing in our future, and making sure that Rogers ISD is a place where every single student can be safe and thrive and excel. And with that, I'm going to turn the floor over to Becky, and she's going to kind of talk about our process and our guiding principles as we develop the bond. Okay, so we wanted to begin by just overviewing the process so that as people begin to hear about this and you as the board, that everybody can see the really strong foundation that our recommendation that we're bringing forward tonight is based on. So I know there was some pre-work that happened prior to September just to get that first September meeting kicked off, but you can see that we've been meeting since October regularly, and each meeting has been well-planned with a focus, and the people in attendance were there to do the work of planning for our district. So that very first meeting was interesting, like how do you really capture the vision? And we had to really dig deep and find out who we are as a community, as a town, as a school, and identifying what our vision is. And you'll see that we're going to go into more depth with each of these. You'll see that throughout. Finding out what our capacity is. We spent a lot of time, and these people that are supporting us, that we've hired to help us make the best decisions, were on campuses. There were interviews, there was data, there were clipboards, and the reports were very incredibly detailed that they brought forward for this steering committee to consider, to reflect on, to discuss. So we really looked deeply at where are we now, what's our capacity. We then the fun work started to happen, right? The planning, what are our options? We know who we are, where we are right now, and what our vision is for the future. So now the planning started. So there were meetings that really focused on what do we need now? How does that fit into a long range plan? Like Kat said, the recommendation for phase 1 that we're bringing, this is just the start, and really thoughtfully, why start here and how does that bring us toward the future? So really looking at that long range plan. And then a lot of refinement happened, right? Because as we started talking, and I think it's important to know the people who were involved in that, and I know Kat kind of already mentioned, but a lot of stakeholders have participated in this either directly at meetings or indirectly afterwards. Every administrator that I called for more detail happily gave more detail. Every teacher that I reached out to and other parent and community members that I've spoken with were happy to give their input and feedback and want to be a part of this decision. And so our last meeting, we really put it all together, and we feel like we've made the best recommendation that we can bring forward to you guys. But it wasn't a quick process, and it wasn't something that we took lightly. I know Kat kind of already mentioned this, but the people who were represented through that committee really included a wide spectrum: parents, grandparents, staff of all sorts, administrators, teachers, coaches, student input. It was interesting to me that there were those dyed-in-the-wool, graduates, alumni here, but also adoptees to our community, people who are new and are choosing to make their life here. So, and in that group, I promise you, there were skeptics asking questions. There were cheerleaders making sure we stay focused on the vision of who we are. So, and every comment and pushback was considered, and we talked through a lot of things. So just quickly to go a little more in depth and through each of those meetings, and so you can see the process that has led us to tonight. That very first meeting, we talked about visioning, and through that, this is what we came up with. So this next slide here, maybe. You want to come on?
There we go.
Kat has mentioned it. Equity was something that really rose to the top. We want to treat all students as the wonderful, valuable human beings that they are, and spread it out and make sure everybody is getting what they need. It was important to us that we continue to function as one. Y'all know there's very little that separates our middle school, high school, and elementary. We're all at the pep rallies together. Like, unity is important to us. I remember when somebody threw out "Shoot for the Moon," and that was important to the group that rose to the top amongst lots of other things discussed. So you'll see there's some pretty big goals. There's big things that we would like to do for our district. Flexibility is important to us. So we know we want to make sure that we're doing things that are going to move with the times and set us up for a great future, making sure that what we have functions well, and really just that legacy of what it means to be a Rogers Eagle. So every meeting, those themes kind of keep rising to the surface as we've discussed where we go from here. So this wasn't just built on the heart, Kat speaks from the heart, and there was a lot of heart talk that was in there, but really also data. I mentioned these teams that were coming through and really giving a report card. What's our capacity? What does our district currently look like? Not only what facilities do we have, but what's the lifespan of those? And some are quickly coming to the end of their lifespan. What's the health of all of our facilities? So, and then how do those facilities really impact what we're doing here as educators? Is it supporting our educational goals and dreams for our students? And of course, also considering the financial implications of all of that. So all of those things were a piece of the puzzle as we went through that long range planning and really deciding how we go into the future here as a district. So there were lots of data was shared with us, everything was discussed, and we really took that to heart as we were making our plans. Trying to think, I feel like that was my part of the presentation.
I think it is.
I think I'm handing over to Jason. Mr. Beard, are you? Okay, come on up and share with us.
So as we go through all this, I kind of sat back and through all the long-range planning and didn't say a whole lot because I wanted to see what the community wanted. I wanted to see what was important to others. And so as we start kind of drawing to near the end and I start to see what the propositions are looking like, I felt like we had some things there that we could continue to add in. And so when you look at things from my perspective as a facilities director, I see things that are broken or things that are getting ready to break. And that's really all I ever see. And when we look at some of the things that are included in this proposition or in these propositions, you look at the lighting for our athletic fields. You look at some of the irrigation work that we need to do on our irrigation fields or on our athletic fields, and also just the current condition of our fields. And I felt like we ought to try to include some of those things because those are things that are going to jump up and bite us at some point if we don't pay attention to them. And so those are the reasons that I put those in. I keep a long range facilities needs list, and I've done this for years. And it kind of goes from one superintendent to the next and to the next because those lists are important that we continue working on things that are not getting done. We continue to work towards repairing things that are going to step up and bite us down the road. Very similar to the roofs, the roof at the elementary school with the ACs. If we don't pay attention to that at some point in the near future, we're going to have to pay for those items one way or the other. That roof is going to have to be replaced. Those AC units are going to have to be replaced, and so we have to try to take care of those in bonds because I can't go to Ms. Malovitz and say, hey, I need $3 million to replace a roof. I can't do that. We have to look at other means of getting that type of help. But when it comes to the lighting, let's take a look at the lighting that you see in this room. These are all LED lights. We've been making an effort over the last 10 or so years to take a hard drive to replace all the lighting in the district and convert it to LED. And we've done that in-house, and we can do that a little bit at a time. I can go to Ms. Malovitz and say, okay, I'm ready to do this building this year. And she can say, you have X amount of dollars. And so we begin to convert those lights over to LED. And there was a time when there was, the return on investment was just not there. It cost a lot more to put LED in than what you'd ever get on that return. And now it's kind of a 1-for-1. I can go in and take out an existing old type fixture and put in an LED cheaper than I can buy an old type fixture or replace bulbs and ballast. And so when we look at our sports fields, all of our sports fields use metal halide lighting. They're 1,500 watt bulbs. And like I told the folks at the meeting the other night, I said, when you turn those on, it increases the demand use for the district a great deal. And so they're just very, very expensive to run. Every time we flip on the lights for cross country or for football practice early in the morning, we turn on the baseball lights, we turn on the softball lights to illuminate those areas. And even if those lights just burn for an hour, it's very, very expensive. those bulbs don't have much of a lifespan. They can last anywhere from 6 months, or they can last for 5 years, sometimes 6. But when they go out, they're really hard to replace. We can't just get a ladder or a little bucket truck to go replace those. And so it's very expensive. As of right now, I've got 5 bulbs out between baseball and softball. Just to replace those 5 bulbs is going to cost us $6,300. And so we go and we pay the $6,300 this year. Next year, we've got 4 more out. And so it just keeps bleeding us in that regard. And so at some point, you have to say, we know we have problems with our wiring on our baseball field. We've addressed that over the last few years, but the wiring that's there is old. The covers on those wires are brittle and cracked. We have shorts there from time to time. We've done everything that we can do. We've had electricians out to make it as safe as we can, but the time has come, we really ought to take a hard look at replacing all of our standing lights with LED. Basically, in a nutshell, with the LED makeovers on those sports fields, we would double the amount of light that we're able to put out on our fields when the lights are at high capacity, and we would use less than half the energy to do that. And so there is going to be a return on investment. It's going to be a long time down the road. I'm not going to tell you it's going to happen in a year or 2 or 5. It's an expensive process because there's money that you have to pay up front to do it. But there's a lot of other things that go with that. With that conversion comes a 25-year warranty. Anything that happens to those lights for the next 25 years is completely covered. There's no maintenance expense. Those bulbs typically don't go out. If they do, it's covered. They're monitored by the company that would come in and do that. They'll know that if we have a problem before we ever even know it. We can dim those lights. We can program them to come on at a specific time. So if we're having practice on the practice field from 6 to 7 in the morning, we can have those lights come on at 5:45 and turn off at 7 o'clock. We don't have to physically go out and do that. And so there's a lot of other things, and it's not about, oh look, we can put on a light show in the football stadium so we can keep up with our neighbors. That's a lot. There's a lot more to this. It's a good business decision, I think. When we switch gears and talk about irrigation, many of you probably remember when I don't remember because I wasn't here, but the baseball field is now past 30 years old. It was built, I think, in large part with volunteer labor, and it's a very nice facility. We've kept it up. We've invested quite a bit of money in both baseball and softball by building the retaining or the metal walls around them. We do our very best to make those facilities look as nice as we can. Our coaches also help us a great deal. But over time, and especially in this blackland soil, there is a price to pay for living in the blackland soil, and we all know that. But that ground moves, it humps, it bumps, and so it needs to be redone every so often. Our football field hasn't been recrowned and reshaped in the 13 years that I've been here. I'm not sure when the last time it was done, but typically schools will do that about every 10 years. And so it's time for that to happen. Same thing with our practice field. That practice field was built out on an old road, which is my understanding, and that practice field is harder than this ground that we're standing on now. It's just like falling on concrete when you fall out there. And we do our very best to aerate and to keep it irrigated and to keep the compaction from happening. But there's so much use out there all the time. We need to bring in some more soil on all of those fields. We need to regrade those fields so that water drains appropriately. And then we also need to upgrade our irrigation system. We talked about all the repairs that we're having to make and how expensive that's becoming. And every time we make a repair, all we're doing is inserting another point of failure. So we're in some cases we've replaced and repaired the same area 8 or 10 times over the last several years. And so it's time for us to look at adding in some new irrigation systems, specifically on our baseball field and our football field and our practice field. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Beard. Tracy and Dan, can you kind of talk as part of, I guess, the steering committee on what it looks like as far as Prop A, Prop B, the impact of taxes?
Yes, if you don't mind, if you would, just scroll on down to page 19. Well, oh no, I'm sorry. Yes, there, that would right. No, that's not it. I don't think that's the correct one.
Turn it off that one.
Which slide was it?
19. It's the recommended pay, right there. Okay. Just so that we know what we're looking at here, this is option 3.1, which is what the steering committee has come together. And as you can see, what is being recommended at the high school, the district-wide safety improvements, the needs there, the middle school, elementary. So you can see there that every area of our district is being touched with this, with Proposition A. And basically what I want you to see is that bottom line right there is the $29,850,000 for this proposition. This does include, Mr. Beard was talking about the baseball, irrigation repairs, the lights and those types of things. That Proposition A does include that for the softball and for the baseball fields, and also for the practice field. We were able to include that in Proposition A. What we were not able to include in Proposition A was anything that was related to the stadium. And the reason that the stadium items were not able to be included is because it has seating for over 1,000. And the statute states that if they're seating over $1,000, you have to do a separate proposition for athletic needs. And so that is the reason we're having to do the Proposition B. So under Proposition B, these are the needs that we can meet with the $1,865,000. And that is the lighting of the stadium, the recrowning and resodding, and the resurfacing of the track. And with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Dan to talk specifics.
Well, good evening, everyone. For anyone that doesn't know who I am, my name is Dan Mahoney with Estrada Hinojosa. I've been working with the district now for more years than I care to admit. I enjoy the opportunity to work with you all. I'd be remiss if I did not mention my partner, Jacqueline Mesa, who's in the back of the room. We've been working hard on trying to figure out just how we can afford all of this while committing ourselves to trying not to move the tax rate at all. So on that note, I've got some pretty good news. For everything in Proposition A, we can squeak under and keep our tax rate at 42 cents. It is a little bit of financial engineering that's going to go into it. There's a little bit of, we pray that the wind blows in the right direction, that interest rates don't shoot up, that things don't happen, that we don't have any problems, but we feel confident that we have financial tools in the toolbox to keep us where we are. Proposition B gets a little bit above where the 42 cents is. It comes in just barely above. There is a little bit of movement, but we're here to talk also about the impact that is going to be to the taxpayer, which is, of course, the thing that we're all most concerned about. What is going to happen to my property tax bill? The first thing I'm going to say on that is that we are committed to not changing the tax rate. That does not necessarily mean that the property tax bill will not change. We, as the district, can only control what we can control. We cannot control what the appraisal district does to the value of your property. So that is obviously a big concern for a lot of people. If my property bill changes, what does that mean? And what I'm here to say is we can control what we can control. Go complain to the county appraisal districts. So what does Proposition A mean? So for those of you in the board, you have a packet that looks like this. Bonding capacity, do we have this on here?
Nope, don't know.
All right, well, we have paper packets in front of the board members. Apologize for you watching at home. But if you flip over to page 1 of this packet, you'll see the two propositions laid out and then the total. We have obviously 29.85 million in Proposition A, 1.865 in Proposition B, bringing us to a total of 31,715. For Proposition A, we're going out for the full length of what a school bond typically will look like. Given the major improvements and upgrades to the facilities of the district, we're looking at a 30-year bond program for Proposition A. Basically, because of the major improvements, what we're going to do is look at the maximum term of the bond and try to minimize our annual payment. Proposition B is a little bit different, only because it's so small. if Proposition B were to carry and Proposition A were not to carry, we're not going to do a 30-year bond for field improvements that we know are only good for 10 years. It just doesn't make good financial sense. So what we're trying to do in building a bond program out is matching the assets to the liabilities. If it's going to last for 30 years, we're going to bond for 30 years so that we're making the payments over the time the facility is being used. We're matching the useful life of what we're bonding against. So again, looking at a 30-year bond for Proposition A, we're looking at approximately a 4.9% interest rate, just under 5%. So if you think about today's mortgage rates, that's still a pretty good rate. We take advantage of tax-exempt rates for borrowing in municipal bonds, and that is very helpful for ensuring that we're going to pay the minimum amount possible in trying to accomplish our bonding program. Proposition B, if that comes in because it's shorter, we're looking at 3.7% interest rate. Again, shorter useful life, shorter mortgage period, basically, you get a little bit of a better rate. Flipping to the next page in the packet, we're going to get into some things that are a little bit more interesting. This is the question everybody wants to know. What does this mean to my tax bill? The next couple pages are going to give you a lot of data that really drives this, but this is the page we're looking at. So what is the question? Where are we going? Right now, our property tax rate for INS only. I did not factor in the maintenance and operations side of the tax bill because frankly, we get into a lot of complicated math with compression coming out of the state. We don't really know what the M&O rate is going to be next year. So instead of guessing at it or playing with it and giving you false hope or false bad information, we're only concerned with the INS side of the bill. So if you get your tax bill next year and it's twice what I'm saying right now and you're confused about that, again, maintenance and operations side of the tax rate, interest and sinking debt service side of the tax rate. So our current debt service tax rate is 42 cents, 0.09. We're looking at a fiscal year 2026 rate of 42 cents, 0.14. It's a very minuscule amount rise up. And frankly, the only reason there is anything is the inability of the math, of bond math, to get it below. Frankly, if we go below, it goes a lot below. And that's just the math of how municipal bonds are sold. Because we cannot, frankly, increment them down to smaller pieces. It's a hair above. We're still committed to 42 cents. And when it comes time to sell bonds, we're going to be committed to keeping the tax rate as level as possible for as long as possible throughout this bond program. So what does that actually mean? A 0.005 difference, 0.0005 difference. That is 72 cents on a $250,000 homestead. So the difference I'm saying that we might have to raise by a 0.0005 is a 72 cent tax rate increase annually. So when we say we're keeping the tax rate the same, we're keeping the tax rate the same. What does that mean for the average monthly cost? What is the difference in what you're actually paying? The average monthly cost of the INS tax rate at the new tax rate level is $52.67. That's not the change. That is the total amount of monthly taxes you will pay for interest and sinking if this bond passes Proposition A. On an annual basis, that's $632, all for Proposition A. Proposition B, if only Proposition B carries. Again, we break these out because we're looking at A and B. They're two different propositions. They have the opportunity to pass or fail each individually. If Proposition B carries and Proposition A does not, your tax rate plummets. It goes nearly in half. You will pay $300 less a year than you're currently paying because we are currently maintaining a 42 cent tax rate. And if Proposition B passes, Proposition A does not, the tax rate drops down to 22 cents. If both propositions pass, and this is the real major concern and question, what does that do to the tax rate? We move from a 42 cent tax rate to a 44 cent tax rate, which is a 2 cent increase. It's like 2.2 cents, which equates to $33 a year. Anyone curious? That's like 2 Whataburger meals if you get the extra fries annually. That's, call it two pies, 2 pizzas. So we're not talking about huge changes in your tax rate, even if both propositions carry and we have a change to the tax rate. It is not a huge difference in what you're paying on an annual basis. And on a monthly basis, it's even less. So again, backing up, this is all predicated on the idea of a $250,000 homestead which, as a reminder, it's a $250,000 homestead. You get a $100,000 homestead exemption, which means you're paying taxes on $150,000 of value. For anyone curious what that means to them, assuming they don't have a $250,000 homestead, the math is pretty simple. Divide by 3 gives you a $50,000, and then multiply that up for what your homestead is equal to. Now, I know that's difficult for a lot of people to calculate. People have ag exemptions, people have various property rates. So we're willing to work together as we move forward in the bond to create a calculator so that it's easy for everyone to get an actual step-by-step vision of what does this cost me. And that's the thing that we're most important is making sure there's the transparency behind this bond so everybody knows how is this going to affect me and not my neighbor down the road. I'm going to pause there. Does anybody have any questions about what I've presented so far? Cool.
If both pass, it goes up 2 cents.
2 cents.
Tax rate, which equals $33.
Correct.
And if just A passes, essentially stays the same.
Stays the same. And if B passes, everything drops because we don't have enough bonding needs for needing to raise a higher tax rate. That said, I would make the advocation to this board that if that were to happen, that we continue doing the same thing that we're doing this year, where we over levy and then pay off debt early based on the high valuation of some of the developments in the district. So flipping to the next page, page 3, this is just what it all looks like on a spreadsheet spread out. This is where things get complicated. It's harder to read. The biggest column that I know everybody's concerned about is the tax rate. The second column from the right going down the side, that is the future projected tax rate based on projected growth in the district, some organic growth, and then some growth around some developments that are potential and incipient here. We are not projecting any valuation growth from any developments that are not already in progress and on the tax roll. We are not projecting anything future. It is what is here today, what can we tangibly touch, see, smell, and know is already on the tax roll. So if we have any further developments that might come in that have large valuations, all of these numbers go out the window, tax rates fall, and I sleep a lot better at night than I ever have before. Page after 3 is just the same thing for Proposition B by itself, and then the final page is both propositions together. So again, if you're curious what this looks like for the next 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, this is the total life of the bond laid out for you, where we expect interest rates today and how we expect them to affect where things will go in the future.
All right, I think Aaron, is that right? No. Yeah, Aaron, you're gonna kind of talk about the long range plan piece, correct?
Sure. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Aaron Martin. So we're sort of going to rewind. So we sort of know how we got here. We sort of know the financial impacts. So we're going to sort of go back to the long range plan. Because keep in mind, this phase 1 is just the first phase of a very well thought out long range plan. Okay. Start by saying I got 5 kids coming to the district. 2 are in elementary now, so we're going to be here a long time pushing them all through. So the equality that we're presenting to you really hits home since every aspect where we touch. We thought it was important to have a safe, modern, and well-equipped learning environment. And so what we came up with was 3 main long-range plans that we sort of dwindled down and fine-tuned. The 3 of which we sort of had a long-range plan. Go to the next one. Okay, so we had one plan, we called it the connecting plan. Okay, it sort of integrated existing facilities with new additions, it optimized resources, and it enhanced collaborations amongst the different areas. So as you can see, the community members throughout the different meetings, the sticky notes, what we could build on, what we didn't like about it, and so on and so on. The second option was a shared sort of idea with this long-range plan. It focused on multi-use spaces. This plan benefited from multiple programs using the same spaces and maximized utility and fostered community engagement. Okay, same thing, inputs, pros, cons. Last was a separated sort of vision. It provided distinct spaces for the different programs and campuses. It allowed for specialized environments tailored to specific needs of the different departments and different schools. Okay, so throughout these 3, we didn't pick one.
We sort of picked and choose. We refined it. We gave a lot of feedback. We took what we thought worked and built a long-range plan that would best accommodate the needs of the district. This plan we labeled as the Unified Master Plan. Now keep in mind, this is a plan, so things can change over time. We have the different phases, but gave us a good groundwork that we thought as a community would put our best step forward, adjusting and adapting to the different changes and whatnot. All right, let's stay there for a little bit. Okay, here we go. Okay, so let me describe what all you're looking at here. So keep in mind, this is long range. Elementary schools, right? That's where the kids begin. We figured it's best, that's where they foster the growth and creativity. And to achieve this, we know new classrooms will be needed. Maybe not now, but they are going to be needed. Upgrade infrastructure, as Jason talked about. If it's not now, it's going to be soon. We got to work on that. And it also enhance the outdoor spaces of park, whether it be playground improvements, parking, flow of traffic, all that. Middle school, preparing for the future. Again, it's a crucial transition period for our students, and we recognize the need to expand not only capacity, but improve the functionality. Expanding that capacity, we would need to add more classrooms and be flexible with the learning spaces that we add. A lot of them will be shared between the high school and the junior high with CTE, ag, band, theater, things like that. Also, reworking student traffic flow to ensure safer and more efficient movement through and around campus. As we talked about, the kids going from the junior high to athletics and so on and so on. We go on that, but that is a major concern. We wanted to address that. High school. Here's where we spend a lot of our focus. We think that the students deserve facilities that not only support academic success, but prepare them for future careers in higher education. Example, more CTE services, things like that. Also, we want to increase capacity, enhance specialized programs, improve overall facilities, rework the athletic fields, parking, and create a more efficient and smarter flow for students, staff, and visitors. Lastly, support services. Behind the scenes, our district relies on maintenance and transportation. They keep the things running smoothly, and to optimize these areas was a main point of concern. Combining maintenance and transportation facilities at a new location to improve the efficiency, reworking existing sites to enhance storage and other district support functions. Plan is not just about buildings, it's about investing in our students, our community as we grow and adapt. Our schools must grow and adapt with us, ensuring that every child has access to the best education possible. Okay. Next part of this is we're going to break down, so that's long range, that's what we sort of decided on as a community, is now diving deeper into the phase that we've been talking about, phase one, and exactly what the details are in phase one. Okay, you can go to the next one. Perfect, here we go. And for this, Becky and Kat will join in with whatever we need to on this. Okay, so I'm just gonna give you a rundown. I mean, you can read it up there, but for those of you at home who can't see, I'm gonna read it, just so you know what this phase that we're trying to pass hits. These are the highlights. So high school, replace technology building. That will give us 6 to 8 teaching spaces, a new band hall and support rooms, flexible learning spaces, small group rooms, so support spaces again, band, CTE, theater, and athletic equipment and improvements. District-wide safety improvements include a pedestrian hybrid beacon. That's sort of, think of a glorified stoplight to help kids get across between basically all the junior high school area, crossing that street over to athletics. Practice field grading and new sod, baseball, softball practice and field lighting, field drainage and grading, improved site circulation, parking across middle school and high school sites, security system, bells and intercoms. At the junior high will be a new secured vestibule with entry renovation, admin renovations and a restroom. Elementary school, replace the HVAC units and replacing the existing roof. District-wide needs are technology upgrades. So that's an overview of the option 3.1, which we're calling Proposition A. And we've already gone over the stadium needs for Proposition B.
If you'll go back to that 3.1, just I know there may be people like we're real familiar with it because we looked at it, but
at the very top where it says replace technology building, all that color-coded part on the high school addition, that is where the current, we call it the 41 hallway. It's kind of L-shaped. It's the oldest part of our building, 41, because it was built in 1941. And so this plan would be removing that, clearing that out, and replacing it with a new building that includes that yellow is band hall facilities, which would be a major improvement for our band to put them central to our campus. Also, in that renovation, removing that 41 building would remove the other part, that the hallway that goes over toward the old gym, which then opens up the center of our campus. So a really nice flow for students and for the band to get from the band hall to the football field, and just that open green space. The classrooms wouldn't come up exactly like that. This is the vision, but we know those things that we would add: small group space, maybe even some open. You can kind of see that open in the middle, so that maybe cross classroom collaboration. So two classrooms meeting together in a hallway and then breaking off into small groups so that teachers can innovate the way that they teach. All of those specific plans would be, fine-tuned with input from the teachers, from the curriculum, from administration, to make sure that those classroom spaces are giving us what we need and how do we take our kids into the future. And because we talked about that unified plan where we're sharing space with middle school, that might be additional science labs for the middle school, so figuring out what that classroom arrangement looks like and how that impacts us. But we really felt like keeping things central because of that unified vision and how interconnected our middle school and high school are, including staff and students. So if you're kind of envisioning, the bottom of that is the 1500 hallway, which was built in 2015, the newest part of the high school, and then that other wing. So this would be a new addition right there, central, with really state-of-the-art teaching facilities and really improving our band facility. Also, I just want to point out that green bullet, although band looks like they're hitting the jackpot and getting new facilities, we've worked with our CTE, with our fine arts, and made sure and talked with them. While new facilities might be nice, also new equipment will make a big impact, and letting these teachers get the things that they need to really enhance those CTE classes, make sure kids are getting their hands on and have what they need to excel. So that is included in that vision for high school as well. And if you're like me and you're trying to figure out what a vestibule is, just that safe entry, right? The way the middle school entrance, this was built before we worried so much about security and buzzing people into the building, and it's awkward and it's unsafe. And so this allows us to fix that and move the stairs and kind of open that up. So it's not only more secure, but I think it will be more welcoming, and just much more something that we'll be proud to say, Eagle Pride, when you walk into our middle school. And the elementary right now, maybe it's not all the bells and whistles, but it's important. Kids need to be comfortable. Jason does not need to be running himself ragged trying to repair things, and we do not need to be going into the budget to repair one air conditioner unit at a time. So to be able to have that updated roof and the equipment that elementary needs. The other thing, we really talked to all the stakeholders, everybody that was involved. I think it's important to point out the additions to the middle school for staff as well, including finally a second bathroom for those teachers who share just one facility. So you can see there are a lot of things. It sounds like a really big price tag, but we feel like we've done what the steering committee asked us to do, to focus on safety and focus on equity and to dream big for the district. So anything else?
That was so good.
And I know Dan talked a little bit about bonding capacity, so I feel like we're pretty good with that. Does anybody on the board have any questions for the steering committee? So I would like to kind of piggyback on some of the things that these three talked about. It was not a comfortable lateral meeting. It was not, we're going to come together, we have ideas, we refine the ideas. It was truly what it looks like when you get feedback and when the community weighs in at different phases, and when you really listen to your community, and, we shared this out, throughout the way. I shared it out with staff, and staff gave feedback. And, I think that's kind of what happened, even with athletics toward the end, making sure that we're focusing on safety and that Prop B needs. But this team did a tremendous job of being comfortable with being uncomfortable. And we're very blessed with a great committee. So just, thank y'all for your time, your dedication, for loving our kids, and for dreaming big for Rogers ISD, because our kids and teachers deserve it. We also have some representatives from our programs here. Coach Bull is here. Doc Doobie is here. I know I saw Mr. Geraci, he's here. They were all very instrumental in giving their feedback, sharing the needs. And so the committee was very intentional on asking them, how are you dreaming big for your program? And so this is something that has the blessing of not just the committee, but our teachers. And wouldn't y'all agree? Our teachers as well. Mr. Geraci, thumbs up.
I do want to say something so quick about
I knew
the
you would.
teachers. I said I wouldn't, but I just thought it was so cool when we were sitting in, like, talking about what does each department need. And of course, every department's like, I need a new facility, but like, we can't afford that. And when it came down to it, every single educator was like, well, what's best for the students as a whole?
Yeah.
I can live with this. I can sacrifice this if I can just get this part. And I just think that's such a testament to the character of the people that we have working here. So great job, everyone, for sure hiring them, and thanks to our staff too.
They're pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. All right. So now my report, the fun stuff,
Oh, yeah, now we move to the superintendent's.
the part where I get to
Thank
talk.
y'all, by the way.
Y'all
You're
did
doing
y'all
what
did
you're
a,
doing
a
and great job.
a great job. Just- and thank you, Coleman, for coming in clutch. Thank you for coming in clutch. I'm pulling up my head on my phone because I have to have notes. Maybe. We might have to do it natural. How can I sit next to Jesus and have technology problems? He brings a good
There you
juju.
go.
There we go.
He brings a good juju. All right, so for the superintendent update, we did awards and celebrations and said thank you to our board. Attendance this week is looking good to year to date. We're still kind of living around the 96.4. High schools at 97. I will say there has been lots of sickness across the district. As a district this week, thus far, we are at 89%. And that's because of just the large number of illness, specifically at our elementary. We had, I think, 6 staff today that were out sick at elementary. So they've been making it happen, combining classes. Kind of got some guidance from TEA on what that looks like. When do you shut down versus when do you keep going? The guidance says, there's no hard and fast rule, but typically it's when you fall 10% below what your average daily attendance is. So we live around 96, so we would probably think really hard about shutting down if we drop to 86 or 87, just to give kids and teachers and, some reprieve to that. Student enrollment, we're staying solid at 888. Had a couple of new kids come in. We had one at the high school, one at the elementary. You can see that. Financial update, Tracy?
Financial report.
Mhm.
As you can see up there, our cash flow, we are sitting pretty good still at a little over 6 million. We accrued over 16,000 in interest for the month of December. And I didn't actually put interest rates all up there, but our investment goals are around 4.5% to 5%. So we're doing pretty good still there. As far as the summary board report, we, as you can see, we're hovering around 34% expense on all of our funds. And that's pretty normal around this time. It's about 33.5%, so we're doing pretty good there. And then lastly, tax collections. It is through December. January is a big month, so next month I'm sure we'll get to see a whole lot more that we've collected in taxes. But there you go. If you have any questions, let me know.
And we're getting our big
Yes.
payment.
We are. We actually just received the check in the mail.
All right.
So,
So we bring a budget amendment to y'all next month.
yes.
Okay. They deliver I'm just surprised that a check that size
I
would
wa-
go through the mail.
I was too.
I was expecting a big check. Like, where's the big check?
Yeah.
What you see on like Wheel of Fortune.
Hand delivery.
Yeah, hand delivery, the big check.
Well, I reached out because I was thinking it would be ACH and it wasn't coming. And they said, no, it's coming by mail. And I was, 1,800 in the mail. Okay. But anyway, we did receive it. It was sent by UPS, so.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna
Could
say.
you imagine just like opening,
Yeah,
Yeah, the mailman.
yeah.
it's like the 42 cents I get back from insurance sometimes, so like we overcharged you 42 cents. But, so that's, so thank you, Tracy. Ballot scorecard update. I'm gonna talk about a couple of things with this. And me and Trey were kind of going back and forth before the meeting, figuring out the best way to do things, you know. As you know, my evaluation is done with the ballot scorecard. So what we will do tonight in open session when we get to that is kind of talk about my evaluation. And then next month we'll do contract. And so as a follow-up to this meeting, I'll email y'all some information. Y'all can communicate with Trey, and then we'll do superintendent contract next month. Sound good?
Just fine by me.
Okay.
Fine by everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we'll
so-
put it a little longer.
Just to make sure, well, just to make sure I do good, you know? So,
Maybe April.
May. So, I'm telling you, I've been having FOMO with this principal hire because I love being a principal and it's been exciting talking to candidates and finding the right one. And we've just had so many great ones. So I'm excited to bring a name to y'all at the next meeting. But we're down to 2.
Planning on a call meeting or regular meeting?
So what I was thinking is we would do maybe February 13th.
That'd be awesome.
Because that's a Thursday, there's nothing on Thursday, and I can serve as our monthly meeting, and we can take care of a couple new hires on that meeting.
Should be our regular meeting, 13th.
Yeah. What y'all think? You like it? Keith? You know y'all have softball or basketball or something.
Basketball should be over.
Unless, well,
Like
Right, well,
4
what I'm
rounds.
saying, middle school,
I'm not gonna tell you that about that, but.
middle school will be over.
Oh, I thought I had a different thing. I'm good.
Powerlifting and Carol is all.
Powerlifting,
That's
Carol.
Thursday at work.
Hey, I will also say, so, you know, Coach Rankin, who never asked for anything, he told me, we were texting today, and he's like, yeah, it's a big game Friday. And I was like, I know, I'm ready. And I said, how can I help? And he goes, let's pack the stands because they feed off of the energy.
Yeah.
And I said, that I can do. I can do that. So please come to the game, pack the stand. The boys and the girls feed off the energy, and we want to bring them all the energy.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I just wanted to kind of say that as part of the balanced scorecard with my evaluation. We'll do that in open session, but we'll do the contract next month. And y'all can kind of talk through that with Trey, and then we'll take care of that. So our TAPR, we're about to do a public hearing on that. You know, Trey will read all of that in a minute. But before we do, what I want to talk to y'all about is when we're looking at that, I want you to focus on the data, of course, and we're going to go into that. And I'm going to share this with you after the meeting. Me and Jackie have really been kind of working to refine it over the last few days, is the cohort data. Because what we're really focusing on is not just looking at TAPR and seeing, you know, third grade had, you know, 70% this year, and then third grade had 70% next year, because those are 2 different grades. Those are 2 different cohorts, right? And so what we want to do is track the cohort. How did they do in third? How did they do in fourth? How did they do in fifth? And so, yes, that data is important, but for us, it's equally, if not more important to track their growth as a cohort. And so I'll share this with you. I'm not gonna go through it. It took a lot of time. That's why I wasn't ready. And Jackie's done a great job, and Amanda. But like, I'll give you a great example. Like, these were our third graders last year. And I taught third grade for 10 years. Third grade's a hard grade to give a test to. And so, you know, this is their interim data. And so they are over where they were last year. So our teachers they are working their tails off this year. They are closing some gaps, filling in some things, and you'll have all this to look at. But you can see we even tracked it down here with our sixth graders. So like, this is where they were in sixth grade. This is where that same group was in seventh grade. This is where they were at the interim. Look at our fifth graders, or our seventh graders. This is where they were in fifth. This is where they were in sixth. This is where they were in the interim. And then at the beginning of next year, you'll have another column here that says star. And so every year you're going to get to track your kid. I mean, these are your kids through the board. So every year you're going to get to track the growth of your kids. So we can make sure that we're not losing a group, that we're not losing a kid, that we're tracking them across the cohorts. So I'll share that with you. I just wanted you to kind of know the why behind it when you get it. Yes, the taper is important. Yes, we're going to do all the things we have to do with it. But, you know, for us, it's about growth of the cohorts and taking care of kids as well. So, Trey, you want to read the official?
Thank you, Mrs. Brashear, for the information. We'll now hold a public hearing for a TAPR support. Statute 39.306 from the Texas Education Code requires that each district's Board of Trustees hold a public hearing to discuss the district's annual report. Within 2 weeks of following the public meeting, Rogers ISD will publish the annual report in the same format it was received from TEA. It can be accessed through our website, or paper copies may be picked up from the central admin office.
All right.
It is what time?
7:07.
It is 7:07, and at this public hearing is called to order. We have a quorum present. Notice of this meeting has been published online in compliance with TEA guidelines. For this part of the meeting, we only have one agenda item, and it is public hearing on the TAPR report. And I will now turn over the taper presentation to Mrs. Brashear.
So the taper report y'all have in your packet. I just pulled some big ticket items out of there. We talked about the cohort data already. So attendance rate, we do excellent as a district. Last year we were at 96%, or actually 22, 23, because you're almost 2 years behind because of the way they have to validate. But this is kind of where we're living. We live around 96%. That's, you know, way higher than the region and way higher than the state. So we do a great job with that. Chronic absenteeism is those kids that you see that have like fall below the 90% rule. And here's the thing, even for us, it doesn't impact them, but for reporting purposes, they count it. So even if it's 18 medical illnesses, it's still counted in reporting. But for us, we're never going to count a kid for medical. I mean, it's just the right thing to do. So attendance, we do exactly what we're supposed to be doing. So this is our CCMR, and you can see we tend to be a little bit below the state. But what I'll say is for us, we put our eggs in lots of different baskets. We are not a school that says everybody's doing IBCs, everybody's doing this. We get our CCMR through their ACTs, through their SATs, through their other their TSI testing. So we live, a little bit below the state, which is not, it's typical for a district our size.
So is that saying 23% of our graduates are college, career, and military ready?
Yes.
So that's 23.5% of the graduating class.
So it's about,
Going to college?
no, it's about, it's that they, Drew, do you want to explain it better than me?
Yeah, so there's, that criteria is college career, military readiness. So the programs that our kids are in, they do it off of a couple different standards, whether they've done the TSI test, SAT, ACT like that, and also the programs that they're in throughout the school. At a certain level, you become qualified in what's called a CCMR. So you get that little denotation as a student, you have met that CCMR requirement. And it does include a lot of different things. And again, you are looking at data from 22-23.
Yeah.
So how do you, can you give me just a basic qualification to meet that as a student?
Yeah, and so it depends on what test you've taken.
Right, say you take a TSI.
So TSI, that would count as your college and career readiness. Military readiness is when we have the presentation of, people coming in and applying and they're joining the military. It does all that. But again, it's the certain standards that the state puts out that gives us that qualification. So we're actually implementing more programs, that we've kind of heard about this year. That's going to help get that CCMR standard where it needs to be.
And
So
that,
we're including more kids into that process.
some of the electives that we're starting to offer are going to get kids
And
qualified
whether or
as
not they
well.
complete a pathway is a big deal of it.
So if
The
they complete
completers.
so if they complete a pathway, then
They'll check
they
off
get
one of those check marks on that box.
And Drew, correct me if I'm wrong, but even like whenever we get our Pilates certs and our floral certs and the welding certs, those all count as well. And so that has been a big leap and change that we've been doing the last year or two is getting more kids certified. And that data from 2023, I expect a big jump for the next year. I know this is kind of out, we're a year behind, but
Well,
we've done a big job on getting those certs.
That
for
was,
those
this is
classes.
prior to the state making it kind of a.
Yeah.
a
Requirement,
requirement. What,
Yes.
they're up to 88% now is what they're looking for?
Yes. And and we weren't, I mean,
But
no,
this
Yes.
wasn't being pushed,
No. No,
And now, like you told us, Miss Olson has visited with every single sophomore, I
Yes.
believe.
Yes, currently.
And
so we
getting
audited
them-
every transcript for Pathways. Ms. Olson met with every single sophomore, junior, and senior. And Ms. Olson and Drew and Tammy recoded some things through PEAMS so it would count as part of their Pathways. They've worked their tails off to try to push this. I mean, and it's sad because we won't see the fruits of our labor this year for 2 more years as far as data goes.
Yeah.
But we'll see it when our kids are, graduating with certification and graduating as completers.
So they're also basing some of our ratings off of this,
Mhm.
but they
But it's
essentially,
always 2 years
but they
behind.
essentially move the goalposts on you because
Yes.
It's an ever-changing thing that
they're
we do have
taking
to play
this-
catch up.
So,
they're taking this data, but they're basing on data that's newly created.
so I'll give you a great example. Like 3 years ago, if we would have had a 23.5%, that would have been like a B+ rating. And now to get a B+ rating, you have to have an 83%.
Right, which we are not gonna be able to.
I mean, not right now.
Well, with that number is what I'm saying, but that wasn't known
No,
in
it wasn't known. They
22,
changed
23,
it.
Exactly.
This is just some information about our kids. I thought y'all would be really interested to know, and probably to count more than anything. These are our kids who are, considered in foster care or immigrants, who Title I, military connected, at risk. We have 79 bilingual ESL, 266, which basically, that's the kids that could, so you kind of see 68, 125 was fed, just an idea of the kids that you serve. This is what Rogers ISD looks like.
What's at risk, what does that necessarily mean?
So at risk could mean a lot of different things. It could mean that they've been held back a grade. It could mean that they, fall into another like special ed category. It could mean that they have not passed an EOC or a STAR, like they didn't approach. They're homeless.
Does attendance factor into that, truancy or what?
I don't think it's in, I think if you file truancy on them, they're considered at risk.
The bottom portion, is that just high school students?
No,
That's all,
that's our district.
we have 125 sped.
Mhm. And so that puts us at 14.3%, which is a little over the state, but not.
Is that including speech?
Mhm. And so this is just another information, economically disadvantaged. So as a district, we're at 50%. 504, we're at 13%, which is significantly higher than the state. But what you have to think about is Rogers and has done a really good job of moving our dyslexia kids over a lot quicker than the rest of the state and started servicing them. So this number probably includes dyslexia for, for SPED, whereas for Rogers, dyslexia is included in 504.
Economically disadvantaged at those,
So it's our kids who qualify for free and reduced lunch.
okay.
And what's really important for our community to know about that is if you qualify for free and reduced lunch, you will either get your dual credit classes for free or at a significant discount. So it's really important for our parents to know that. Accreditation, we just have to say this officially, we are accredited. Special ed, we meet all requirements. We have to say it, so we said it. So we also have to report violent or criminal incidents. 22, 23, we had 0. Last year we had 2. 1 was criminal mischief, and 1 was a kid had a knife in his pocket, and it was over a certain. So you just have to legally report those things. But those were our 2 that we had to report to y'all, and we reported it. Any public comments? Great, I guess that's you. Trying to make the
Oh,
job.
yeah, no, you go right ahead. Thank you, Mrs. Brashear. Do we have any public comments? If not, this public hearing will conclude at 7:16. All right, you stretched out that.
Yeah, we can do superintendent. We can add it as the last line of a discussion item.
Okay. All right, I guess that means we'll move on to action items.
No, superintendent evaluation and discussion. I know, it's not on there because we changed it.
Okay, then we're doing the superintendent evaluation. So, you didn't leave me a script for that.
I don't have a script for that.
We all did our evaluation. Everybody sent their numbers to me. I thought they all looked good. We talked about this for a few minutes earlier. Averages come out to a 53.3 out of a score of 60 possible, which puts us where everybody, I guess an average where everybody meeting expectations.
So I would love to hear kind of after the first 6 months, and I know it's hard, me not being here, I would love to hear what your big picture goals are for this time next year. Like what would I have accomplished this time next year? And you can say, man, you've done a good job. That's our vision for you as the leader.
Honestly, I can't see that far right now. I'm living day to day. It's been, I've been surprised every time you call on the phone. Positive surprise, so.
Thank you. I know for me, CCMR is a big deal. I'd like us to see us increasing those pathways, getting some more kids as completers. That's been a big push for Drew and myself, both of us. So ideally, I could come to you next year and say, hey, here's the data on CCMR. This is how we've increased it. Increasing cohort data. I'd like to be able to come to you and say, we've done a really good job at Tier 1 instruction. We've done a really good job at increasing the rigor, and it's evidenced by the growth of our cohorts. That's just something I think I'm always a teacher at heart, and I'm passionate about every kid growing. And And I think that's why it's very important for me and Brittany to get this principal hire right, because we know that person is going to help that happen at the elementary level. And so for me, those would be my two big goals. I don't know if there's anything else anybody kind of has on their mind or any thoughts.
Let's write your IEP right now and you collaborate with us on these goals
Check for understanding, chunking, so.
within the next 52 weeks.
There's a lot of variables when it comes to, you want to be 60% here, 80% here, but there's just so many variables on how you get there and why you're not able to get there. So for me, it's continuing to put the right steps in place to allow us to get there, continuing to identify the issues of why we aren't there yet or why we did get there, and then again, make the changes, whether it be curriculum, whether it be continuing and any resources needed. So just kind of keep moving in the right direction and keep the buying and process going the way it is now.
Piggybacking off of Chad, I was going to say the same thing about you've got supports that you have an uncanny ability to see how structure supports other pieces and how you need a person in this position to support this stuff and you need a person in this position, and just the way you've got your support staff in place. I think continuing that, and on top of like bringing in the new curriculum, once all of these pieces are put into place, we will see the scores go up, and that will be, that's the showing that it's successful.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's the teacher in me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I enjoy seeing the cohorts
Grow. Me too.
That's
You don't like just
That's the
fourth grade
true
across
growth.
the board like
yeah, I know.
seen in the past.
And on everything that we were looking, the vision and the mission of the district, saying what Chad said is feedback on that one. You have been able to maintain and making people accountable, but at the same time, not only coming to the point that I'm going to be enforcing this and telling you what to do, but actually understanding this, the support staff that you have, then being able to understand and listen, because not everybody's going to be perfect. They strive to be perfect, but there's going to be times and moments in their lives they're not going to be able to perform at a certain level because personal things that might be happening.
Grace.
Given the opportunity, the empathy, the time for them to make it grow and the support, that's something that's going to make the district grow, and you being able to see that and you continue with that capacity, I think we'll be able to see flourish within the district.
Very good. All right.
I was hoping people throw tomatoes at you, but
No tomatoes today, Trey.
I hope there's not as many hard decisions a year from now that we're having to make, we're having to make. But for the right reasons, like
Yeah.
you say that many times, just, if you're doing it for the right reasons, it's worth it. It's worth the friction. It's worth the uproar sometimes.
Change is hard.
Change is hard, and it's uncomfortable. Just this. I would have loved for this steering committee process to be very comfortable, for it to just A and B and C, but it was not. It was very uncomfortable, and I think Tracy and I there were days we were pulling our hair out, and we just closed the door of the office, and but at the end of the day, I feel like this bond is our community's bond. Whether they say yes or whether they say no, it is not my bond. It is not your bond. It is our community.
oddly enough, I probably should have said that when they were here. I took a second to tell them thank you, but that was one of the interesting things, is seeing everybody come together and kind of put their 2 cents in, put their energy and their want to going forward. Because I think we all get a little short-sighted in thinking about short-term goals. And I said a while ago, I can't think past tomorrow. But with this, it's trying to push a long-term situation where we kind of, instead of having to react to things, we're making sure that they're being taken care of ahead of time. And hopefully that's a positive or a good direction of processes that have been implemented over the last 6 months to 12 months of different things. So I find it exciting.
Me too.
All right. We done with that?
We're good. We can go to action items.
All right, we go to action.
And y'all have your evaluation. I think I didn't say that in the discussion. I mean, in the superintendent's update, but y'all have y'all's board evaluation. You'll complete that as you view the board and have that to me by like February 3rd, 4th, 10th, somewhere there. Before the next meeting. I can put the data together quick, so just before the next meeting.
I was thinking by the end of the evening, let's fill that.
So, all right, go ahead. Action item.
All right, the action items are up. The first one is the joint election agreement. We got a 2-page deal here, pretty much 1 page. Have y'all had a chance to review that agreement, City of Rogers? I'm guessing this is for, well,
May 3rd election.
yeah, because we got to do that.
Well, if we don't have, I noticed that it said that we're sharing the cost of holding the election, but if one party doesn't need it, they can just back out.
Yes.
So that means that we'll be paying the whole amount if the city doesn't have an election. I didn't know how much.
Or they would if we don't.
We did that last year.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
But we're gonna have to bond on there, most likely.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
we are
yeah.
gonna need an election if we have the bond.
Is that
Yeah.
on here anywhere? That's
Yeah.
not in this, is it?
Yeah, that's the one,
What is the window?
oh, that's under consent agenda.
All right. Well, if I have a motion to approve as recommended by the administration on the joint election agreement. Anyone want to make a motion?
I so move.
Movement by John Paul,
A second.
second by Mrs. Fox. All those in favor, show of hands. All those opposed, motion carries 7-0. So now we gotta go to our interlocal agreement with Region 10. We had a chance to review and consider the membership of the Region 10 multi-region purchasing cooperative. And I guess this is with our, pretty much all of our services, with food and all that, or what?
Yes, yes.
Region 10's where?
That was, is that East Texas?
You would ask me that.
Sorry, I didn't mean to strike that from the record.
Strike that from the record.
Strike it from the record.
I was just curious, it's irrelevant.
All right.
If we didn't go with this interlocal agreement, what would we go with? What are our options?
If we didn't do that, we would have to go out for bids for everything that we did. And we would have to they do all of the legwork for us. So if we didn't do it because of the rules and laws through TDA and USDA, we would have to bid out milk, we would have to bid out bread, we would have to bid out the meat, we would have to bid out ground beef, we would have to bid out, I mean, every single item would have to be bid out. They do all of this for us.
So then they also get to choose what food we offer.
Well, they have to follow the same guidelines. They can't choose like what our menu is. We plan the menus, so, but it is based off of what food we can get through. And if it wasn't the multi-region co-op, it's going to do the same thing through whatever organization or cooperative.
Or bring something else would take that overboard.
Well, I actually have some ground beef in our freezer from a lady in McGregor who provides beef for those local schools, and she was hoping that we would take a look at it and maybe consider, but if we've got all of that involved,
It doesn't mean that we can't look at something like that.
Okay.
We can look at that. This is just allows us to keep it but for purchasing purposes, so that we don't have to do all the procurement that's involved in that process. We can still do farm to school, that type of setting, we can still do those types
Okay.
of things.
Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that wouldn't eliminate that possibility.
It doesn't.
Okay. All right. Any more concerns? If not, do I have a motion approved as recommended by admin? Moved by Mr. Green,
Second.
second by Mr. Moriarty. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed, motion carries 7-0. I guess we'll move to the consent agenda. You had a chance to consider and review the minutes from the regular meeting on December 18th, as well as the information regarding the call for the trustee election on May 3rd, 2025. Does anybody have questions?
When can these three turn their application in?
Was it
Tracy.
February?
The deadline, you have that, the deadline is
You
sometime.
can actually turn it in right now.
Right.
But the deadline will
We gotta wait on. So the window's open now.
The window is open
Yes.
now, yes.
Oh, the last day is like
It's,
February 16th.
the last day is February 14th.
On Tuesday.
All right, do I have a motion approved as presented by the administration? Unless you see something on there. You're a lot better at editing.
It's it's a teacher in her.
That's the mother who was a very strict editor growing up.
Is it good, Sarah?
It's all good.
I so
I like how you asked.
All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Sorry, who seconded that?
Mr.
Thank
Green.
you.
Oh, is there anything else you want to talk about besides adjournment? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn at 7:32 p.m.?
That's something my daughter will say.
Chad is making a motion
I
to
second.
adjourn. Yeah, sorry. All in favor, it is 7:0.
Hey, before y'all leave, I want to get a picture of y'all.
It's adjourned.
I know.
Sorry.